The Galactic Veterinary Station floated in the darkness of space like a white flower among the stars. It orbited a planet called Helix Prime, and creatures from 100 different worlds came here when they were sick or hurt. The station was famous. The doctors here could heal almost anything. Dr. Venna was one of the best healers on the station. She was a Mirathi, a species with soft blue skin that glowed faintly in the dark. She had 4 arms, which made her very good at surgery. Her eyes were large and gentle, and she had spent 30 years learning how to help animals from across the galaxy. She thought she had seen everything. She was wrong. The morning started like any other. Dr. Venna was checking on a small creature from the Andor system when her assistant rushed into the room. His name was Prix, and he was a Kalori. Kalori looked like tall rabbits covered in silver fur. They were known for being nervous about everything, and Prix was more nervous than most. "Doctor," Prix said, his fur standing up in alarm, "a human ship just docked at the station. They say they have an emergency." Dr. Venna set down her medical scanner. Humans were still quite new to the galactic community. They had only joined about 50 years ago, after they learned to travel between stars. Most species found humans strange and confusing. They were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest. They did not have claws or thick skin or poison. Yet somehow they had survived on their dangerous planet and spread across the stars. "What kind of emergency?" Dr. Venna asked. They did not say. They only said their patient was hurt badly during a pirate attack. Dr. Venna nodded and walked to the docking bay. Whatever creature the humans had brought, she would help it. That was her job. That was her purpose. The docking bay doors opened, and 2 humans walked through. The first was a young woman with black hair tied back from her face. She wore a simple blue uniform and carried herself with calm confidence. Behind her was a young man, tall and quiet, pushing a large metal crate on a hovering platform. "I am Dr. Venna," the Mirathi said, stepping forward. "How can I help you?" "My name is Yuna," the woman said. "This is my assistant, Taiho. We are veterinary specialists from the colony ship Horizon's Edge. Our patient was injured 3 days ago when pirates attacked our convoy." Dr. Venna looked at the metal crate. It was large, nearly 2 meters long and 1 meter tall. The metal was thick and reinforced. Small holes in the sides allowed air to flow in and out. Then she heard the sound. It started low, almost too deep to hear. It was a rumbling, growling noise that seemed to vibrate through the floor and into her bones. Dr. Venna felt something cold move through her body. It was fear, pure and ancient, the kind of fear that came from millions of years of evolution. Pri dropped his datapad. His silver fur puffed out until he looked twice his normal size. "What is that?" he whispered. The crate shook. Something inside slammed against the walls with tremendous force. Through the air holes, Dr. Venna caught a glimpse of orange and black fur. She saw a flash of white teeth, each one longer than her fingers. She saw eyes like golden fire, full of rage and pain. Her 4 arms went stiff at her sides. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to run, to hide, to get as far away from this thing as possible. "You brought a Terran tiger onto my station?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yuna nodded, showing no fear at all. "Her name is Bomi. She is a Bengal tiger, approximately 8 years old. She was injured protecting our cargo bay from the pirates. She has deep cuts on her left side and a broken back leg." Dr. Venna could not believe what she was hearing. She had read about Earth predators in her studies. Tigers were among the most dangerous. They were ambush hunters, built to kill large prey with a single bite to the neck. They could run fast, swim well, and their strength was terrifying. "This creature is classified as a Category 9 threat," Dr. Venna said, backing away slowly. "It should not be on this station. It should not be anywhere near civilized species." "She is not a threat," Yuna said calmly. "She is injured and scared. There is a difference. Preeks had already moved behind a stack of cargo containers. Only his ears were visible, and they were flat against his head. "Category 9, he repeated. "Doctor, we must call security. We must evacuate this section of the station." The tiger roared. The sound was unlike anything Dr. Venna had ever heard. It was not just loud. It was powerful in a way that went beyond sound. It hit her chest like a physical force. It echoed off the walls and filled every corner of the docking bay. It was the sound of a creature that had ruled its world for millions of years, a sound that said clearly, "I am death, and I am angry." Dr. Venna stumbled backward. Her blue skin had turned pale, and her bioluminescence flickered like a broken light. But Yuna did not move. She stood beside the crate with her hand resting gently on the metal surface. "Shh," she said softly. "Bomiya, it is okay. I know you are scared. I know it hurts. But we are going to help you. I promise." The tiger growled again, but this time it was quieter. The crate stopped shaking. Dr. Venna watched with wide eyes. The human woman was talking to an apex predator like it was a frightened child. And somehow, impossibly, the predator seemed to be listening. "Please," Yuna said, turning to Dr. Venna. "She does not have much time. The wounds are infected. If we do not operate soon, she will die. I know you are afraid, but I am asking you to trust me." Dr. Venna looked at the crate, then at the human, then at her own trembling hands. Everything in her body told her to refuse. Everything in her training told her this was madness. But she was a healer, and there was a creature in pain. "Bring her to the surgical bay," Dr. Venna said quietly, "and pray to whatever gods humans believe in that you know what you are doing." The surgical bay was the most advanced room on the station. The walls were white and perfectly clean. Machines lined every surface, ready to scan, cut, heal, and repair any creature from any world. Bright lights hung from the ceiling, making the room glow like the inside of a star. Dr. Venna had performed thousands of surgeries in this room. She had saved lives that other doctors said could not be saved. She had opened bodies, fixed what was broken, and closed them again with steady hands. Today, her hands would not stop shaking. The tiger lay on the operating table, which had been extended to hold her massive body. She was over 2 meters long from nose to tail, and she weighed nearly 200 kilograms. Her orange and black fur was beautiful, like fire and shadow mixed together. But beneath that beauty was pure power. Muscles coiled under her skin like steel cables. Her paws were bigger than Dr. Venna's head, and each one held claws that could tear through metal. "The sedative is working," Taiho said, checking a monitor. "Her heart rate is stable. She should stay asleep for the entire procedure." Dr. Venna nodded slowly and approached the table. Up close, the tiger was even more terrifying. Even in sleep, the creature radiated danger. Dr. Venna could see the wounds on her left side. 3 deep cuts ran from her shoulder to her hip, each one red and swollen with infection. The back leg was bent at a wrong angle, clearly broken. "How did she get these wounds?" Dr. Venna asked as she prepared her instruments. "Pirates boarded our ship," Yuna explained. She stood at the tiger's head, gently stroking the fur between her ears. "They broke into the cargo bay where Bomi was resting. She attacked them. She killed 2 before they could escape. A third one shot her with a plasma blade before she brought him down too." "She killed them?" Priest squeaked from the corner of the room. He had refused to come closer than 5 meters. "She killed 3 armed pirates?" "She protected her family," Yuna said simply. "That is what she does." Dr. Venna did not understand. Family? This was a beast, a predator, a killing machine. How could it be family to anyone? But there was no time to ask questions. The infection was spreading, and the broken bone needed to be set. Dr. Venna picked up her laser scalpel and leaned over the tiger's body. Then the golden eyes opened. It happened so fast that Dr. Venna did not have time to react. One moment the tiger was asleep. The next moment, those ancient eyes were staring directly at her, only centimeters away. They were the color of burning gold, deep and intelligent, and filled with something primal. The tiger's lips pulled back, showing teeth that gleamed white under the surgical lights. A sound came from her chest. Not a roar this time, but something worse. It was a low, continuous growl that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was the sound of a predator deciding whether to kill. Dr. Venna's body moved before her mind could think. She dropped her instruments and scrambled backward so fast that she crashed into the wall. Her forearms flailed wildly, knocking over a tray of tools. Her bioluminescence went dark completely, something that only happened during extreme terror. "She is awake!" Dr. Venna screamed. "The sedative failed! She is awake!" Preet did not even try to be brave. He ran for the door, his silver fur leaving a trail of loose strands behind him. His claws scratched against the floor as he fled, and his terrified screaming echoed down the corridor. The tiger tried to stand. Her injured leg gave out, and she collapsed back onto the table with a snarl of pain and frustration. But her front legs worked fine. Her claws extended, each one as long as a human finger, and they scraped against the metal surface with a horrible screeching sound. Dr. Venna pressed herself against the wall, unable to move. Her hearts were beating so fast that she thought they might burst. Every cell in her body was flooded with ancient chemicals, the same chemicals that had kept her ancestors alive millions of years ago when predators hunted them in the dark. "Run," her body said. "Hide. Do not move. Do not breathe. Maybe it will not see you." But the tiger saw her. Those golden eyes tracked her every movement, or lack of movement. The growling continued, a constant reminder that death was only a few meters away. "I cannot do this," Dr. Venna whispered. "I cannot. The creature is awake. It will kill us. It will kill everyone on this station." Una stepped forward. She moved slowly but without hesitation. She walked around the operating table and placed herself directly between Dr. Venna and the tiger. Her back was to the predator. Her hands were relaxed at her sides. "Doctor," Una said calmly, "I need you to listen to me very carefully. Bomi is not going to hurt anyone. She is confused and in pain. She woke up in a strange place, surrounded by strange smells and strange creatures. She is scared." "Scared?" Dr. Venna could not believe what she was hearing. "That thing is not scared. It is a killer. Look at it." Una turned around to face the tiger. The growling intensified. The tiger's ears flattened against her skull, and her tail lashed back and forth. "Bomiya," Una said softly, using that musical tone again. "Hey, pretty girl. I know it hurts. You are being so brave, such a brave girl." She reached out her hand toward the tiger's face. Dr. Venna wanted to look away. She did not want to watch the human woman die. But she could not move, could not close her eyes, could not do anything except stand there and wait for the blood. Una's hand touched the tiger's nose. The growling stopped. Dr. Venna blinked. She was certain her eyes were lying to her. But no, it was real. The tiger's ears had lifted slightly. Her lips had covered her teeth again. She was still tense, still wary, but the immediate threat of violence had passed. "That is my good girl," Una said, moving her hand to scratch behind the tiger's ear. "You remember me, do you not? You remember my smell? You know I would never hurt you. You know I would never let anyone hurt you." The tiger made a sound. It was not a growl or a roar. It was a short, breathy noise, almost like a sneeze, but softer. Then she did it again, and again. "What is happening?" Dr. Venna asked weakly. "What is that sound?" Taiho answered from across the room where he had stayed calm the entire time. She is chuffing. It is a greeting. It means she recognizes Yuna. It means she is starting to relax. Yuna looked over her shoulder at Dr. Venna. Her eyes were gentle but serious. She is not a monster, Doctor. She is just scared. And right now she needs your help. She needs both of us. Can you do that? Can you help me save her? Dr. Venna looked at the tiger. The creature that had filled her with such terror was now pressing her massive head against Yuna's hand like a pet seeking comfort. The golden eyes had softened. The tension in her body was slowly releasing. Maybe, Dr. Venna thought, I do not understand humans at all. She took a deep breath, stepped away from the wall, and picked up her instruments. I will need more sedative, she said quietly, and you will need to keep her calm. If she moves during the surgery, I cannot promise anything. Yuna smiled. She will not move, I promise. I will be right here the whole time. The surgery began slowly. Dr. Venna's hands still trembled, but she forced them to be steady. She had a job to do. Lives depended on her skill. It did not matter that the patient could kill her with one swipe of her paw. It did not matter that every instinct in her body screamed at her to flee. She was a healer, and she would heal. Yuna sat at the tiger's head, never moving more than a few centimeters away. She spoke constantly in a soft, low voice, words that the translator could not fully capture. Sometimes she spoke in her human language, Korean, and the sounds were musical and soothing. Sometimes she hummed songs without words. Sometimes she simply repeated the tiger's name over and over, like a prayer. Bomiya, good girl, such a brave girl. I am here. I am not going anywhere. Taiho assisted Dr. Venna from the other side of the table. He handed her tools, monitored the tiger's vital signs, and adjusted the sedative levels with careful precision. Unlike Yuna, he did not talk much, but his calm presence was almost as soothing as her voice. The wounds were worse than Dr. Venna had expected. The plasma blade had cut deep into the muscle, and the infection had spread quickly. She had to remove dead tissue, clean the wounds thoroughly, and then close them layer by layer. It was delicate work, the kind of work that required full concentration. But she could not concentrate, not completely. Part of her mind was always watching the tiger, waiting for those golden eyes to open again, waiting for the violence that seemed inevitable. You can relax, Doctor, Yuna said gently. She is calm now. She knows she is safe. How can she know that? Dr. Venna asked, not looking up from her work. How can a creature like this understand safety? Yuna smiled and stroked the tiger's fur. Tigers are very intelligent. They remember faces. They remember smells. They remember who treated them with kindness and who treated them with cruelty. Bomi knows that I have never hurt her. She knows that I protected her when she was small and helpless. That memory is stronger than her fear. Paris had returned to the room, though he stayed near the door with one hand on the exit button. You protected her? But she is a predator. On my world, we would run from such creatures. We would hide. We would never go near them. On Earth, humans ran from predators too, Taiho said. Long ago, we were prey. Lions hunted us. Wolves hunted us. Big cats like Bomi hunted our ancestors for millions of years. Then how did you survive? Pri asked. You have no claws, no fangs, no armor. Yuna answered without taking her eyes off Bomi. We survived because we learned to work together. We made tools and weapons. We built fires to keep the predators away. But then something strange happened. Instead of just fighting the predators, some of our ancestors started to befriend them. Dr. Venna paused her work and looked up. Befriend them? Why would anyone do something so dangerous? Because we saw something in them, Yuna said. We saw loyalty. We saw strength. We saw creatures that would fight beside us instead of against us. The first wolves that came to our fires were probably outcasts, rejected by their packs. They were hungry and desperate. Our ancestors could have killed them. Instead, they fed them. They gave them warmth and shelter. And in return, those wolves protected our camps and helped us hunt. Taiho nodded. Over thousands of years, those wolves became dogs. They changed because they lived with us. And we changed too. We became a species that could love dangerous things. Dr. Venna found this hard to believe. On her world, the Marathi had spent their entire history avoiding predators. They built their cities underground, away from the hunters that roamed the surface. The idea of inviting a predator into your home was unthinkable. But tigers are not dogs, Dr. Venna said. They are not domesticated, they are wild. That is true, Yuna agreed. Bomi will never be tame like a dog. She is still wild inside. She still has instincts that I cannot control. But she has also learned to trust me. She knows that I am part of her family. The tiger made that chuffing sound again, her great head pressing against Yuna's leg. How did you meet her? Pri asked, curiosity finally winning over his fear. Yuna's expression became sad. 8 years ago, I was working as a wildlife veterinarian on Earth. Poachers had killed Bomi's mother for her fur and her bones. They were going to kill Bomi too, but we arrived in time to stop them. She was just a tiny cub, no bigger than a house cat. She was starving and terrified and covered in her mother's blood. The room was silent except for the beeping of medical machines. I took her home, Yuna continued. I fed her with a bottle every few hours. I kept her warm against my body while she slept. When she cried at night, I held her until she stopped. I was the first thing she saw every morning and the last thing she saw every night. To her, I became her mother. Dr. Venna looked at the tiger with new eyes. She tried to imagine this massive creature as a tiny, helpless cub. She tried to imagine Yuna holding her, feeding her, loving her. But she grew, Dr. Venna said. She became this. Yes, Yuna said. She grew into one of the most powerful predators on Earth. But she never forgot who saved her. She never forgot who loved her when she had nothing. That bond cannot be broken by size or strength or instinct. It is deeper than all of those things. Dr. Venna returned to her work. The broken leg was more difficult than the wounds. She had to realign the bone perfectly, then use a special tool to fuse it back together. One mistake could cripple the tiger forever. But as she worked, she felt something strange happening inside her. The fear was still there, but it was getting smaller. In its place, something else was growing. It was not quite understanding. It was more like wonder. These humans had done something that no other species in the galaxy had ever done. They had looked at the most dangerous creatures on their world and decided to love them. Not to conquer them, not to destroy them, to love them. Your species is very strange, Dr. Venna said finally. Yuna laughed softly. We know, but we like to think it is a good kind of strange. The surgery continued for another 2 hours. By the end, Dr. Venna's arms were exhausted, and her mind was tired in a way she had never experienced before. But the wounds were closed, clean and healing. The bone was set perfectly. The tiger would survive. Bomi slept peacefully on the table, her great chest rising and falling with each breath. In sleep, with her teeth hidden and her claws retracted, she almost looked gentle. Almost. Dr. Venna removed her surgical gloves and looked at Yuna. She will need to stay here for several days while she recovers. The leg will take time to fully heal. We can stay, Yuna said. We will stay as long as she needs us. Dr. Venna nodded slowly. Then, surprising herself, she asked, May I touch her? Yuna's eyes widened slightly, then she smiled. Of course. Let me show you where she likes to be scratched. Dr. Venna extended one trembling hand. Yuna guided it to a spot behind the tiger's ear, where the fur was especially soft. The tiger sighed in her sleep, a deep, contented sound. And Dr. Venna felt something she had never expected to feel toward an apex predator. She felt connection. 3 days passed on the Galactic Veterinary Station, and nothing was the same. Word had spread quickly about the humans and their tiger. At first, other species on the station avoided the recovery bay completely. They walked quickly past the corridor, their eyes fixed straight ahead, pretending the apex predator did not exist. Security officers patrolled nearby with weapons ready, though Yuna had politely told them their guns would only make Bomi nervous. But curiosity is a powerful thing, stronger even than fear. On the second day, a few brave souls came to watch through the observation window. They were scientists and doctors from a dozen different worlds, and they stood at a safe distance, staring at something they could not understand. A human woman sat inside the recovery bay, reading from a small electronic device. Beside her, a tiger larger than most ground vehicles lay on a padded platform, eyes half closed in contentment. Every few minutes, the human would reach out and stroke the tiger's fur, and the massive predator would make a rumbling sound of pleasure. "This is impossible," whispered a Torvan scientist, his gray scales rippling with confusion. "The humans have no telepathic abilities. They cannot control minds. How are they doing this?" "They are not controlling her," said Prykes, who had become something of an expert on the situation. "They are friends with her." I know it sounds crazy. I did not believe it either. But I have seen it with my own eyes. Dr. Venna visited the recovery bay more often than her duties required. She told herself it was to check on her patient, to make sure the healing was progressing properly. But the truth was more complicated than that. She was fascinated. On the morning of the third day, she found Tai-Ho sitting outside the bay, making notes on a datapad. "May I ask you something?" Dr. Venna said, settling onto a bench beside him. "Of course," Tai-Ho replied. "I have been reading about Earth, about your planet's history. I found something I do not understand." Tai-Ho set down his datapad and gave her his full attention. "What did you find?" "Horses," Dr. Venna said. "On most worlds, large prey animals are left alone or hunted for food. But humans climbed onto the backs of horses and rode them. These animals could easily kill a human with a single kick. Their teeth can crush bone. Why would anyone trust their life to such a creature?" Tai-Ho smiled. "That is a good question. I think the answer is that humans see potential where other species see danger. When our ancestors looked at horses, they did not just see a large animal that could hurt them. They saw speed. They saw strength. They saw a partner that could carry them farther and faster than their own legs could take them. But the risk," Dr. Venna said. "The first humans to try riding horses must have been injured. Many must have died." "Many did," Tai-Ho agreed. "But some succeeded. And those who succeeded changed human history forever. With horses, we could travel great distances. We could herd other animals. We could fight wars in ways that were never possible before. The reward was worth the risk." Dr. Venna considered this. "And dogs, cats, you have made predators into companions." "Yes, dogs were wolves once. They lived with us for so long that they became something new. They can read human emotions better than any other animal. They know when we are happy or sad. They protect our children and comfort us when we are lonely. Some humans say that dogs taught us how to love unconditionally." Through the observation window, Dr. Venna could see Yuna playing with Bomi. The tiger was still weak from her injuries, but she batted at a rope toy with her massive paw, while Yuna laughed and tugged on the other end. "And tigers?" Dr. Venna asked. "Can they be like dogs?" Tai-Ho was quiet for a moment. "No, tigers are different. They can never be fully domesticated. Bomi will always be wild. She will always have instincts that could be dangerous. Yuna knows this. She respects it. Then why take the risk? Taiho looked through the window at his colleague and the tiger. Because some connections are worth the danger. Yuna saved Bomi when she was a cub. She raised her, taught her, loved her. In return, Bomi has given Yuna something precious. She has given her trust. For a wild predator to trust a human is one of the most beautiful things in the universe. Inside the recovery bay, Bomi had rolled onto her back, exposing her belly while Yuna scratched the fur on her chest. The tiger's eyes were closed, and her mouth was slightly open in what looked almost like a smile. On our world, Dr. Venna said slowly, we would never show our bellies to anyone. It is the most vulnerable position. To expose your belly is to offer your life to another. Tigers are the same, Taiho said. When Bomi shows her belly to Yuna, she is saying, I trust you completely. I trust you with my life. Dr. Venna felt something shift inside her chest. She had spent her whole life believing that predators and prey could never coexist. She had believed that fear was the only reasonable response to creatures that could kill you. But here were humans, a species that had looked at the most dangerous animals on their planet and decided to love them anyway. I have another question, Dr. Venna said. Why do humans do this? What do you gain from forming bonds with creatures that could hurt you? Taiho thought about this for a long time before answering. I think humans are afraid of being alone. Our planet is beautiful, but it is also dangerous. Storms and earthquakes, fires and floods, disease and hunger. For most of our history, survival was never guaranteed. We needed help. We needed allies. So we looked around at the creatures we shared our world with, and we asked, who will stand beside us? He paused, watching Yuna and Bomi through the window. The wolves came first, then the horses, the cats, the birds. Some humans befriended elephants, others trained dolphins to work with them in the water. We even formed bonds with creatures that terrified us like snakes and spiders. Because at the end of the day, having a friend who might hurt you is better than being completely alone. Dr. Venna stood up and walked to the observation window. Inside, Yuna was now lying on the padded platform beside Bomi, her head resting against the tiger's shoulder. The great cat's breathing was slow and peaceful. Your species is not what I expected, Dr. Venna said quietly. What did you expect? When humans first joined the galactic community, many species were confused. You were not the strongest or the fastest or the most intelligent. You had no natural weapons, no special abilities. Some thought you would not survive long in the wider galaxy. And now? Dr. Venna turned to look at Taiho. Now I think we underestimated you. You survived not by becoming stronger or faster than your predators. You survived by making them your friends. That takes a kind of courage that I do not fully understand. Taiho smiled gently. We do not always understand it either. But we know it works. Our bond with animals has shaped everything about our species. It taught us empathy. It taught us loyalty. It taught us that even the most dangerous creature can become family if you give it enough love. A soft knock came from inside the recovery bay. Yuna was waving at them through the window, gesturing for them to come in. Bomi wants to meet you properly, Yuna called through the intercom. She is awake and calm. Would you like to say hello? Dr. Venna's forearms tightened at her sides. The fear was still there, buried deep in her body. It would probably always be there. But something else was there too. Curiosity, wonder, and a tiny growing seed of something that might have been bravery. Yes, Dr. Venna said. I would like that very much. 1 week after the human ship first docked at the station, Bomi took her first steps since the surgery. It was not graceful. The tiger wobbled on her healing leg, and Yuna stayed close beside her, ready to support her if she fell. But Bomi was determined. Step by slow step, she walked across the recovery bay, her golden eyes fixed on the far wall like it was a mountain she had to climb. When she reached the wall, she turned around and walked back. Then she did it again. Dr. Venna watched from inside the room now, not from behind the safety of the observation window. She had spent many hours here over the past week. She had learned to read Bomi's body language, to understand when the tiger was happy or uncomfortable, relaxed or tense. She had learned that the chuffing sound was a greeting, that a lashing tail meant excitement, and that slow blinks were a sign of trust. Most importantly, she had learned that she was no longer afraid. The fear had not disappeared completely. It still lived somewhere deep inside her, a reminder of millions of years of evolution. But it had become smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. In its place, something new had grown. Dr. Venna thought it might be called affection. "She is healing faster than I expected," Dr. Venna said, watching Bomi pace. "The bone has fused well. The wounds show no sign of infection. In another week, she should be ready to travel." Yuna smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "Yes, we will need to return to our ship soon. The convoy has been waiting for us." "You will be missed," Dr. Venna said. Then, surprising herself, she added, "Both of you?" Bomi had stopped pacing and was looking at Dr. Venna. The tiger's great head tilted slightly, as if she was considering something. Then she limped over to where the Marathi doctor stood and made that soft, chuffing sound. Dr. Venna's hearts beat faster, but she did not run. Instead, she slowly extended one of her 4 hands. Bomi pressed her massive head against the Marathi's palm. The fur was warm and soft. Dr. Venna could feel the vibration of the tiger's breathing, the powerful muscles moving beneath the skin. This close, she could smell the creature's scent, wild and strange and somehow comforting. "She likes you," Yuna said quietly. "She does not do this with everyone. You should feel honored." Dr. Venna did feel honored. More than that, she felt changed. A week ago, she would have said that forming a bond with an apex predator was impossible. Now she knew better. "I have submitted a request to the Galactic Veterinary Council," Dr. Venna said, still stroking Bomi's fur. "I have asked them to create a new specialty, Terran fauna consultation. I believe I am the first non-human to make such a request." Taiho looked up from his datapad with interest. "You want to specialize in Earth animals?" "Not just any Earth animals," Dr. Venna said. "The dangerous ones. The predators that other species are too frightened to treat. After meeting Bomi, I believe I understand something important about these creatures. They are not monsters. They are not mindless killers. They are beings with their own thoughts and feelings, capable of trust and loyalty and love." She paused, looking into Bomi's golden eyes. "Someone needs to speak for them in the wider galaxy. Someone needs to help other species understand what humans have known for thousands of years. If I can be that someone, then this week will have been worth every moment of fear." Yuna reached out and placed her hand over Dr. Venna's. "Thank you. That means more to me than you know." The day of departure came too quickly. The human ship was loaded with supplies, and the convoy was waiting at the edge of the system. It was time to say goodbye. The docking bay was crowded with beings who had come to watch. News of the tiger and the humans had spread far beyond the station. Scientists from distant worlds had sent messages asking for information. Journalists had requested interviews. A Torvan ambassador had even suggested that humans should give a presentation about their relationship with Earth animals at the next Galactic Summit. Dr. Venna stood at the front of the crowd, Prix hovering nervously beside her. The silver-furred Kalori had not entirely overcome his fear of Bomi, but he had learned to stand in the same room with her without running away. He considered this significant personal growth. The transport crate was open this time. Bomi walked beside Yuna without restraint, her healing legs still slightly stiff but growing stronger every day. The crowd parted nervously as she passed, but the tiger paid them no attention. Her eyes were fixed on her human, following wherever Yuna led. "Thank you for everything," Yuna said, stopping in front of Dr. Venna. "You saved her life. I will never forget that." "You showed me something I never expected to learn," Dr. Venna replied. "You showed me that courage and love can exist together, even in the face of great danger. My species has much to learn from yours." Taiho shook hands with several of the scientists who had gathered, answering last-minute questions about human-animal bonding. Parix had worked up enough courage to give Yuna a small gift, a data crystal containing Marathi healing music that was said to calm anxious creatures. "Play it for Bomi when she is restless," Parix said. "It might help. Maybe. I do not actually know if tigers like music, but it seemed like a nice gesture." Yuna laughed and tucked the crystal into her pocket. "I am sure she will love it." The final moment came. The humans walked toward their ship, Bomi limping gently between them. At the edge of the docking bay, Yuna stopped and turned around one last time. "Dr. Venna," she called out, "if you ever want to visit Earth, you would be welcome. I could introduce you to some of our other animal friends. Dogs, horses, maybe even some wolves if you are feeling brave." Dr. Venna felt her bioluminescence flicker with something that might have been excitement. "I would like that. I would like that very much." The ship's door closed. The engines hummed to life. Slowly, the human vessel lifted off the docking platform and drifted toward the stars. Dr. Venna watched until the ship disappeared into the blackness of space. Then she turned and walked back into the station, her 4 arms swinging with new purpose. She had work to do, applications to file, studies to begin, a whole new field of medicine to create. But first, she had a report to write. She sat down at her desk and began typing. Terran Fauna Consultation, a proposal for understanding predator bonding in human society. The introduction wrote itself. When I first encountered the Terran tiger designated Bomi, I experienced what I believe was the most profound fear of my medical career. I retreated. I panicked. I was certain that I was about to die. But then something unexpected happened. The human veterinary specialist, Yuna, stepped forward and spoke 4 simple words that changed my understanding of the galaxy forever. Dr. Venna paused, remembering the moment. The terror, the disbelief, the wonder. She continued typing. She said, "She is just scared." In that moment, I realized that I had been looking at the situation completely wrong. I had seen a monster where there was only a frightened creature in pain. I had seen a threat where there was only a patient in need of care. The human did not see what I saw. She saw through the fear, through the danger, through millions of years of predator and prey evolution, and she saw something beautiful underneath. Dr. Venna saved her work and leaned back in her chair. Through the window of her office, she could see the stars stretching out into infinity. Somewhere out there, a human ship was carrying a tiger back to its convoy, back to its life among the stars. And somewhere in Dr. Venna's hearts, a new understanding had taken root. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the fastest or the most advanced. But they had something that no other species possessed. They had the courage to love things that could kill them. And maybe, Dr. Venna thought, that was the most powerful ability of all.